What's up, homies? I am here with Johnny Richardson. We're shaking it up with the Sharks himself. For those who've been following me, I was on his show maybe 2-3 months ago or so, and we met at a speaking expo where Johnny was speaking at Mandalay Bay about 4 months ago. So this is an episode in the making. He is a CEO of the Richardson Group, and he is a top 1% Las Vegas realtor out here in Las Vegas. This man's a sales whiz. He is building a legitimate company and also a very staunch networker. This guy, any networking event I go to, Johnny's there, and I'm like, dude, this is insane. It's so many similar friends and entrepreneurs that I'm just grateful to have you here. So thanks for coming on.
Hey, it's my pleasure. That is one of the things I notice, especially Vegas and also nationally as well. When you're spending time with the right people, you're so connected with other people. Like, hey, do you know Jake? And you're talking to somebody in Florida, like, yeah, 100% I know that guy. So when you're spending time with the right people and in the right rooms, everybody's connected. So it's super awesome.
Especially out here in Las Vegas where there's not as many entrepreneurs as we'd like. My estimate that I've said before is maybe there's about 10,000 doers or movers and shakers in Las Vegas. And out of that 10,000, probably all of them know each other. Yeah, because you just happen 100%. happen to be in the same area.
No, it's definitely true. And it's that 80-20 rule with no matter what you're doing. You'll be in rooms with people that are the entrepreneurs or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But then there's always that top level that are people are actually making some moves, running, like you said, legitimate businesses, actually growing into something. And then there's other people I just want to be a part of it. They're hanging out, really don't want to put in the hard work, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But that's where it gives a lot of room for us to grow in 100%. Las Vegas. To me, it's like a barren wasteland out here. We have the hospitality, we have the Strip, which is world renowned. Everyone is aware of it. But many people don't know what exists outside of Las Vegas. And so this gives room and opportunity for us to build these Goliaths, whether it's a podcast, a real estate company, or an ice cream shop, or whatever. Yeah,
whatever you want to go, whatever your passion is, definitely there's a market for it out here. You could do anything you want to. You just basically lift your subconscious, because I believe 100% the only thing that stops people from doing something big in this city is just telling themselves, oh, that'd be too hard. Oh, I can't do that. Whatever it is, whatever your passion is out here, I guarantee you can make it happen.
You think it's fear that holds some of us back?
100%, definitely is. It's our fear and also our upbringings as we were a child. Like, think about it as far as our mentors or our mothers and fathers and whatever mindset they had. Well, that's how they're training you and bringing you up throughout time. So you turn 18 years old, you're 21 years old, you're going by whatever beliefs you were set in at that time. Take myself, for example. I grew up in New Jersey. I look back now, no offense to anybody I talk to in New Jersey, but most people kind of get into a job, get into a rhythm, and they really don't get out of that lane. And you don't see the entrepreneur space out there as much in the New Jersey area, at least South Jersey where I grew up. So there isn't anybody guiding them in any different direction. Out here, you're exposed to a lot. You just open up the door and get in front of the right people. You will do some big things and start telling yourself, I can versus I can't. It's not, I can't make it happen. How do I make it happen? And those doors open.
Right. Yeah. The diverse nature and eclectic personalities of Las Vegas exposes you to an enormous amount of opportunities. But also on the contrary side, there is a ton of temptation.
Oh, yes.
Whether you want to go hit the strip club or go into a nightclub or the pool or an event show or anything that can siphon your money exists within the Las Vegas Strip. And sometimes it gets the best of us. That's happened to me. It's happened to many previous guests on the show as well. But those who eventually overcome it or kind of snap out of it and realize like, hey, all the money I'm making, I'm funneling right back into the system. I should probably build something that exists outside of the Strip so that I can eventually find a life that's not a graveyard shift, waking up at or going to bed at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning.
If you're lucky.
You're lucky.
Maybe even later. No, a lot of us have. I've spent my time partying out in the city, and everybody needs a little break once in a while and hit a pool club, but you can just see where it takes you in this city. It's just like, it's party city. It's Las Vegas. When you go out there and you hit the pool club and the bottles are coming on and the drinks are coming on, Next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock, and then you're there with a couple friends. You're like, what's next? What's next? It could just go on forever in this town. This town never shuts off. Opposed to going out to a party in Nebraska and everything closes up at 8 o'clock, you're forced to go to bed. That's the thing with Vegas. You're not forced. So if you want to let it go, you're going to let it go.
So when did you decide to make the move out to Las Vegas, and what was the idea behind it?
So I was almost, I shouldn't say forced into it, but I had to make a decision. So I was doing timeshare at that time back in New Jersey in Atlantic City, and I'll never forget this. Things were going great, doing amazing. I was top notch in marketing, number 3 in the country. And someone kept telling me, a couple people, they said, you belong in Vegas. You belong in Vegas. So I put it in the back of my head. I said, okay, I'm going to finish out this season. Once this season finishes, going into next year, I'm going out to Vegas. Well, the decision was made for me. 1 month later, I'm sitting at my marketing location. It's a Sunday, and we get a call, and they said, pack up your stuff and go home. It's like 3. We don't close till 10. And I'm like, well, that's not good. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. We go home. They said, meet back at corporate tomorrow, or corporate center at 8 o'clock. And we walk in, and it's 150 people on one side and 150 people on the other side, marketing and sales. A guy comes in, and he reads off this letter. It was one of the managers at that building at that time. And he just goes through Wyndham Vacation Resorts, current location, Atlantic City. We are shutting down, and we are finished. We are going to talk to a handful of you out of like 300-400 people about a possibility for a job. Everybody else is going to receive some sort of severance. So I walked out, and someone talked to me, said, hey, got a great opportunity for you. Come with me to Myrtle Beach. And I'm thinking, Myrtle Beach sounds kind of cool for 2 months. Then the other 10 months, it's cold, it's miserable. I'm like, heck no. And I said, you know what? Vegas wasn't in our region. And I said, I'm going to Vegas, which everybody was pissed. And they were like, you got to be kidding me. You're not staying with us. I said, heck no. I'm going off to Vegas. So I worked out going to Vegas, and I was working it from New Jersey, which was a total nightmare. And I got sick and tired of dealing with the paperwork back and forth. I threw all my stuff in the car one day, just got up one morning, took off, got out here. I remember I got an apartment in the middle of it. And when I got out here, I had like nothing to sleep on. I think I had a TV I threw in my car. Went out, got an air mattress from Walmart that night. Had my dog with me, a little Boston Terrier at the time. And I was like, all right, here's shop. Here we go. And it was off to the races.
Wow. How long ago was this?
2012.
Oh, wow. So you built an incredible amount of success in little less than a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Did you immediately dive into the real estate industry?
Well, funny you ask. When I ended up with that job, I was going towards real estate, but I didn't have a passion for real estate. 2010, coming out of the car business after the recession, I said, let me go and do real estate part-time. I was following my uncle's footsteps in the Atlantic City Fire Department. So I'll do it just to make some money, get in the fire department. When I got my real estate license in 2010, that's when timeshare recruited me, because I had a real estate license. I had a strong sales background from the car business. And they were like, hey, come sell real estate with us. My uncle said, do it for 1 year. You got to wait anyway. So I jumped in. I was broke as a joke, driving around a piece of crap Honda Accord, just like no money. And whatever money I have, I'd go out on the weekend. I was an idiot. So I jumped into timeshare, and I went from being broke to very wealthy, like overnight. It was like that. So when I got into timeshare, I said, this is awesome. Fast forward, brings us back to Vegas in 2012. Continued with that about another 3 years in Vegas. And at the end of that was 6 years between the 2 states. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm making money. I'm vacationing. I'm having a heck of a lot of fun, and I don't work a lot of hours, but I didn't find myself fulfilled. I said I should go back to what I started, which was the real estate end, because I had a friend of mine kept dripping in my ear, said, you belong in real estate. You'd be great in real estate. So I was pitched by an insurance guy at that time. And he goes, you could get your real estate license, do insurance with us, and do both. Well, once I got in insurance, I figured out how much hard work it was, which I did great for 2 years. But there's no way for me to do real estate. I was in that insurance office from 8 in the morning till midnight every night. It was nonstop. It was impossible. And I found out it was more of a hook. They didn't ever want me to go into real estate. So I went through insurance for 2 years, spoke from stage. I was the presenter. I sold the dream, did amazing. I was sitting in front of a room of 50 people, 50 guests. I'm getting ready to sell the dream. And I remember turning around, looking at the board, and I'm getting ready to turn back. And I'm like, I don't belong here. This sucks. And I almost turn around and tell everybody to run for your life. But I have my agents outside that brought in these guests. I'm like, I'm going to let everybody down. I muscled up. I got through the presentation. Not one person bought anything because my passion was no longer there. I literally walked out, told my agents, we're closing up shop. Doors are shut. You're going back to the broker's office. I'm done. I've lost it. I know when I'm out. And that day was like a Saturday. The following Monday, I walked into a real estate office that my buddy was trying to get me to come over to. I was like, I'm in, sign me up. I'm full time. And I knew I was destined to be there. But also at the same time, I don't regret any of the steps going from the car business, going into timeshare, spending that 2-year gap in insurance. I built such a business background on how to run the real estate business, and I didn't realize it was even happening. So when I got into real estate, I took off like a rocket overnight. And it's because of those skills that I picked up through those other industries. I think that's what most realtors don't realize. Most of them are seeking the same information from the same exact people all the time. I actually obtained information from people outside of the real estate industry, brought those components in, and that's what allowed us to build and take off so quickly.
Yeah, and car sales, timeshares, and insurance are heavily influenced by sales and persona, especially car sales. So
yes,
you're picking up a massive amount of skills that can easily be introduced into the new real estate endeavor.
Oh, 100%, definitely is. When I was in the car business, I wanted to be creative and do something different. I'll never forget, I was sitting at my desk and I look up, and it was an advertisement for the new Superman movie. And I was working at Suzuki at the time. And I was like, that would be a cool billboard. So I designed this picture. It was me in a Superman outfit, cape waving, and I had a Suzuki chest put on the center. And then I called myself Captain Suzuki, and I had a billboard put up in town and said, call the captain, he'll make it happen. And then an infomercial guy came in to pitch my general manager. And when he came in to pitch my general manager, he's like, you're the guy with the billboard. He goes, I'm making you a suit. So they made me that same exact suit. That was just a billboard. And then I did all the infomercials from them running forward. That's when I figured out that it wasn't just sales that I was good at. I was really good at marketing myself and standing out from everyone else.
And your online persona is... You could see that marketing experience. And what I've noticed through this show and the amount of successful real estate agents and owners on the show is that everyone has their own specific branding or niche. Like I had the Boakley brothers on, they do like rental tips. I had Lacey Cerrone on, she does like your best Las Vegas life. Colton Simmons does custom fit real estate with construction. What would you say your personality is or representation of the Richardson Group?
So what everybody knows me as is Johnny Richardson, the Shark, because of a marketing piece I came up there. But a lot of that where it kind of correlates to, and it wasn't intentional with the Shark, that came up from a funny marketing thing I did diving in a pool with sharks. But where everybody knows me is my work ethic. That's something I've always brought to the table. And what people don't know about me is I actually enjoy researching sharks. It's not just the branding. I do enjoy it. And every shark, what do? They never stop moving except for a Mexican sand shark. It's the only shark they'll ever stop moving. All the rest of them, even when they sleep, they move. So that is my core at the end of the day, is my work ethic, where I will go for my clients, where I will go for my team. It doesn't matter the hours that I'm working. It doesn't matter what I have to put in the weekends. It doesn't matter the holidays. I'm there to get the job done no matter what, 100%. A friend of mine makes fun of me when he calls me. He's like, I don't even want to ask you what you're doing. Let me guess. You're going to a networking event, then you're leaving, then you got to make 20 calls, then you got to stop by a client's house, drop off a bottle of wine. And once you do that, you're going to be doing a dinner with another client that's buying a house next week. And that is how the conversations go a lot of times, because where we talked in the beginning as far as networking, being out stuff places, that branding as far as the shark, it does go hand in hand because I'm constantly out there moving and moving and moving. I almost get anxiety when I slow down. Everybody says, slow down, relax a little bit. Well, that's what gives me anxiety, not the work, because we should always be doing something and getting something going at 100%. So that's a large part of it is my work ethic. That's what I preach in. I had a conversation with somebody else the other day, and they had said, well, you went to the military. I said, no, I was never in the military. But at the same time, that is one thing I wish I would have done. You know, I let my mom talk me out of it as a young kid. She says, you'll blow up your leg. This will happen.
She doesn't want to lose her son.
Yeah, exactly. But I've always embraced that work ethic. I loved it so much, that military style grind, get in there, get the job done. You have a mission, complete it. And I bring a lot of that into my business.
So how do you go about selling real estate in Las Vegas? And what I mean by that is, we know Vegas, as we mentioned, is very diverse. There's so many different families and individuals that are looking for different variation in houses, and that Vegas is very heavily influenced by your network. Are your clients approaching you through leads? Is it through referrals? What is that approach?
So we just did our numbers recently, and 50% of our business comes through our SOI. And a lot of that is our presence through social media and staying in contact with people. So, and we will do some from $100,000 condo up to high rise at the Turnberry, or a single family home in Summerlin that's over $1 million or over $2 million. It's all over the place. So I've been very careful as far as never putting ourselves in a box, because the market twists and turns certain ways. Now, no one knew what was going to happen during COVID. We thought luxury market was going to fall apart. It actually didn't. It went through the roof. So we keep that open and cater to everybody, and keep open arms to everyone, and stay in touch the same exact way with every single person, no matter whether they spent $2 million or they spent $100,000. They get the same exact treatment. And those people, it's a continuous system over and over and over again. I lean a lot on social media, and I don't talk about Facebook ads, just keeping a presence with my clients, seeing what's going on with them, reaching out, touching base, checking in, and doing the things that you should be a human at the end of the day. We're not just salespeople. Keeping those relationships and being sincere and authentic with people is what's important. Now, the other half of our business is lead systems. We do have lead systems through Realtor.com, through Zillow, through OpCity, through the RISE program. And we brought that on when we decided to build an operation? Because you're not going to build an operation and not have something to give back your operation. So we knew we had to step things up with our lead systems. My agents, they work with both. They'll work with my clients, plus they'll also work through the lead systems as well.
Smart. I've begun to notice that many realtors are becoming, and many realtor agencies are beginning to come almost like pseudo media companies as well. That's where a lot of the leads are generated. And those who are buying a home, it's generally one of the toughest decisions of their life. It's most meaningful. This is where their love and their families are going to be built. They want to be able to relate to the realtor as much as possible. So what kind of media content you put out there to help ease that tension of somebody that's never met you online, but then approaches you and you eventually sell them a house?
What I promote majority of the time is positivity. So if you watch my stories, there's a lot. I get it. I get passion. A lot of times when I get up for the gym in the morning, I have something on my mind. I put it out there, and you wouldn't believe, and I didn't even believe as far as how many people it was impacting. And I get a lot of people that reach out and they're like, oh my goodness, I needed that message today. That message changed my life. They're like, yeah, I had no idea. I felt like you're speaking to me, that I was making a left-hand turn with my emotions, and it just brought me right back. So I do it more for me. It's just, I put it out there because that's what I'm feeling at that moment, but I had no idea how many people it was touching. Also, at the same time, I try not to drown people in real estate content. It's just like, yeah, you sold a house. Yeah, you got to see that happening, but I try not make that all of everything or too much of it. Also, at the same time, we're building a team. I want to recognize my team on a regular basis. They deserve it. They work hard. I want to show that they're having success. They're doing big things. So it's a combination plus my personal stuff as well. Because when I'm sharing times with Katie, for example, I'll put that up there, or moments with the team. I keep that form between those few items kind of in circulation and just keep it out there. So when people come up to me, like for example, we did one a couple of weeks ago, kind of blew up in our face. Katie and my marketing guy said, it'd be funny. I'm going to make an ultrasound of a shark, and say you're having a shark. And that was a joke. We're having a shark. We're not having a shark.
Yeah.
We're not sharks. But everybody thought it was opposite. They thought we were really having a baby, and the shark was the joke. And I still have people calling just yesterday. They're like, how's the baby going? I had no idea this many people watch. And I'm like, oh, I got to explain this again. Look, there's no baby. They're like, what? I said, did you look at the ultrasound? 50% looked at the ultrasound. They're like, no, I thought it was a baby. I said, look at it, it's a shark. It's not really a baby.
Hey, sometimes when the marketing doesn't hit the narrative that you would like, it still is effective in some way, right?
Exactly.
It gets more attention. How large is your team?
Right now, in our local team, we have 13 agents currently, plus our admin and everything else. Then nationally, we're at 25 currently.
Interesting. What other cities do you reside in?
That's going to be New Mexico, California, Texas, Florida, New Jersey.
Is there any reason for these select cities outside of maybe a hot real estate market?
Yeah, besides that, New Jersey's pretty natural because I grew up in New Jersey. That's simple.
I'm familiar with it. You understand how it operates.
Yep. Florida, one is we have an attraction with Florida. There's more things we want to do there. Plus, I have a market in Florida as well, just based off of networking. California, when I ran my insurance business, a large part of that was in California. So we have a large market in California as well. New Mexico, that came from networking as well. So met somebody that was getting a real estate license. So we started working on New Mexico. And then as far as Texas goes, that was a referral over to me at the end of the day.
Yeah, Texas is exploding, especially Austin.
It's a hot spot. To be honest, it has to be, it should be one of those places we put more attention into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of celebrities have migrated out of California and into Texas, Florida. I think Tennessee's one, and then obviously our lovely Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Now, even on the real estate exam in California, it asks you, besides Vegas, where else are people going to? It's Texas.
And interesting. So will you be going down to these places, or you just have the leaders operating these select teams in these different cities?
Leaders move in those places. We were in Miami last week and met with a few people while we're out there, but most of it, the beauty in our business, we can run it via Zoom. Now, I am partnering with somebody to do more events, to where we'll run out and do masterminds and so on and so forth moving into the next year. So then we're going to start hitting that harder. We just did one right here in Vegas with a team of realtors.
Isn't the allure of scaling a business, it's so attractive, but then at other times it makes you really question your sanity and what you're doing? Because once you start scaling, the business is the easy part. It's managing people is the hard part, because their lives tend to conflict with their profession more often than you'd like.
Yeah, no, 100% it does. And I've learned, I guess, a little bit more patience is why I adapt in, because I had zero. Even now I'm told I don't have patience. I think I've gotten better. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the way I look at it. But everybody, when you're working with people in the public, not everybody's going to have the same work ethic. And someone else mentioned to me recently, he said, John, you got to realize their 100% is not your 100%. So sometimes they're given their 100%, but it just doesn't look the same. You know, they're going to take off when Lucy's getting married, or this person's having a bachelorette party, or this 4-year-old birthday party. You know, a lot of that stuff I'll kind of like do a quick visit, or I may skip out on. And I've always had it in my head. If you want success and to do something big, it's going to require sacrifice. And when you're building something, you got to understand not everybody's willing to sacrifice. You just keep working with everybody else.
And during this entire scaling process, you've been hiring many agents and executives for your different team. What are some properties or traits that you look for when interviewing someone to bring onto the Richardson Group?
So I'm looking for, number one, somebody has really good work ethic at the end of the day. So I want to make sure it's somebody that's there to win. I also want to see if somebody that's like one ethically is there to do the right things and everything else. And so I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say you are ethically? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at in your work ethic? And I'm looking for somebody that's going to say 10. If it's somebody that says, well, I'm an 8, I'm like, well, why are you an 8? Well, you could always get better. That's not a good sign. I'm not going to see that person again. I want them to say, I'm a 10. I'm committed to a 10 at the end of the day. I don't need somebody that has a real estate license. I actually stay away from that most of the time.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I do. Just when people come in, they're set with bad habits. They've learned for 2 years from X person, and it happens constantly. They come in, well, I was taught this way. Well, that's not what we do here. This is what we do here. This is what's given us success, and this is how we run the operation, and all stay consistent at the end of the day. If you have a brand new person, they've never been trained before. I like taking them from the ground up. And we're really good at getting that person results within 30 days. Somebody gets their license, gets their MLS, they will have escrows in the first 30 days. We've done it time over and time again, over and over and over. So I want that person to come in, to have the strong work ethic. They're an ethical person at the end of the day, and they just want to be there to win. And we can work with a person like that.
Isn't it funny how we were groomed to be up to the standard of whatever profession you're going into, whether you're going and getting certifications or getting degrees. But then when you're on the other side and you're a leader hiring, you prefer somebody with a clean slate that has no experience so that you can train them properly.
It's pretty crazy, isn't it? It definitely is.
The society's completely flipped on the old dynamic. And I think this is where the transformation from this like analog world that we're living into is like the digital world, where in the digital world, you don't even have to be with that person to train them. You could create a course and have them take it, or just do one-on-one Zoom interviews. And so it makes it much easier to train people than maybe 30 years ago, where you had to get 400 people in one room and you had to do breakout sessions and it's a whole weekend course and blah, blah, blah. It's cool to see the individual branding and the growth of how entrepreneurs run their business.
No, 100%. It definitely is. The trick is still just like it was back in the day. Once they go ahead and leave that, to get them to do their homework and go back and study over and over. That is definitely the tricky part.
Tell me a little bit about the growth of Shaking Up with the Sharks. I know now you've done a pretty solid amount of episodes. What have you learned so far throughout the entire experience?
To be a good listener. Definitely.
It's the best way to be an effective host, honestly.
Yeah, 100% it is. So I found myself in the beginning, because I believe us as human beings, or when you go through school and high school and grade school and whatever, we're trained to talk and speak English. There's never been a course on how to listen, ever. It's just listen, just do it. So we're constantly thinking about what we're going to say. So I kind of say it joking, but I'm almost serious too, because you want to have a great experience, a great interview with somebody. So you're listening, but you also don't want to be stumped when it's time to say something either. So when I started doing that, I was aware of that. And I said, let me go ahead and make sure I'm on my game with it. Besides that, running a podcast is not easy if you're running a business. It definitely, when you have, you got a lot going on with your NFTs and traveling all over the place, plus running the show, plus you're doing everything back here. It's just chaotic for you, I'm sure, at the end of the day. So it's balancing all those things, but it's very effective and you get to meet people. We start off in the conversation, we met through networking. This is networking at the end of the day. We're having a discussion between me and you. We know each other now. Mm-hmm. Then who knows who else we end up meeting over on this platform as well. What friends there is like, hey, check this guy out, that guy, which I absolutely love. Every part of it goes back to what I said. It all takes hard work. So doing that, I know what I have learned is it's very successful, teaches you how to be a better listener. And it's just awesome. It's a great way to reach, educate, and deliver constant value to other people.
Yeah, podcasting at the end of the day is just a tool, and it's a tool with a lot of leverage because you can pretty much get any individual of high status, high net worth, or somebody who has a very busy schedule to give you 2 hours of their time to record a podcast. It's almost like a cheat code where if you're somebody who doesn't have a podcast and you reach out to somebody who's very busy, they won't give you time. But if you say, hey, do you want to come on a podcast? They're like, here's 3 hours of my time.
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
like, whoa, it's that easy?
Yeah.
It's not actually that easy, but it definitely lessens the restraint to getting some of these people that are very sought after to come in and communicate. And then you can even pitch them business ideas afterwards. Some of my favorite parts of the podcast, which, sorry guys that are listening, is actually the post conversation because their bubble is lowered, right? They're very loose. You've been talking for an hour or so. You feel like you've known each other, even though maybe it's been a few hours. And then that's when the real cool creative part of it comes. And then generally they can refer you to somebody as well.
Yeah, 100%. A lot comes out of on other relationships, other deals. And just like anything, you go out there on a date with somebody, the first couple minutes, you don't have permission to go in for the hug or the kiss or whatever. Then after an hour into it, it loosened up, a drink here, a drink there. Then all of a sudden it's off to the races.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Yes.
It's so funny. So what do you look for in a guest when they come onto the show?
I look for entrepreneurs. I don't do a lot with real estate people because I just don't want to drown it out with real estate. There has been real estate people on my show. I had Steve D, for example, girl by the name of Carly Ray, amazing realtor out here in Las Vegas. Steve D works with every top-notch realtor across the United States. More than anything, I want to look for an entrepreneur that I can learn from. And we can educate each other at the end of the day and get their information out there.
And how long are the episodes?
So I normally keep them, the sweet spot's 45 minutes. We don't end up pushing ours an hour. There's been a couple of them that have, but normally I'm looking for that 45-minute area. You could tell me maybe that's wrong, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I've heard mixed things. They say, hey, if you push in an hour, you're actually going to get more people are going to listen to your show. Maybe that's correct. Maybe it isn't.
There's no correct way to go about podcast length. I experimented pretty heavily when I first started. I went up to 2.5 hour episodes at one point where then it just became impossible to edit on my own and to keep that kind of pace going. But at a certain point, you have to understand, are you doing it for your own benefit? Are you doing it to make money? Are you doing it to network? Kind of where those components in? Because if you're just doing it to network, I don't think there should be a limitation to how long it can be. Some people are very money centric and they just want to monetize it as fast as possible. If you're trying to do that, then probably go for shorter and more frequent episodes. But to me, the sweet spot's about an hour, maybe a little over, sometimes a little bit under, just depending on if the conversation's dying out.
Yeah.
But there is no sweet hit spot. I mean, look at Joe Rogan. He's been doing 3 hour plus episodes for 12 years. And
it's true.
Back then, no one knew that kind of that long form actually would first be established, but then be a massive trend. Because if you look now, most of the popular solo podcasters all do 2 hour episodes, hour and a half episode or more, because the attention span of the average individual is actually much larger than what we like to think, because it's been cut down from things like TikTok and some of these other social media platforms. But a stat that I learned was 80% of podcast listeners will listen to about 80% of the episode, no matter what the time is. So once you get them to listen, then you're in their ear for the majority of that episode's length.
Really? Yeah, and they say most statistics are made up on the spot.
Right? There's some really interesting podcasting stats. And to me, it seems like the best platform for an entrepreneur. Preferably, I like podcasting and Twitter, and then YouTube's kind of third. It has a different dynamic to it. But just being straight audio content, whoever's listening to this podcast is either at the gym right now, or they're driving to work for the most part, or they're doing some chores around the house. It's all generally audio content, or the audio consumption is generally while somebody is doing some sort of task. Whereas if you're watching YouTube or video content, you kind of have to be very present and aware to watch.
It's true.
Because you're just, most people, I'm a culprit of this. Most people are, is you're watching through Netflix. You spend 30 minutes or so trying to figure out what show you want to watch. And then you turn it on and you're on your phone half the time.
Yeah,
and you're like,
that's true.
You're like, I didn't even freaking listen to it or watch it.
Out.
So I have this, this is me speculating, but I think audio consumption is going to overtake video consumption by the end of the decade, especially as the popularity of AirPods and wireless headphones come into play. And once the price, once that's scaled up and the price comes down, the majority of people walking out in society are going to have something in their ear.
Yeah,
and,
of course, 100%.
And so you spend probably 2 hours a day between getting ready for work, commuting at work, leaving work, driving, going to the grocery store, things like this. And people are having less and less time at home because they have to work more and more. So that's just something that I think every entrepreneur should have, regardless of the amount of downloads a show gets. I think that's a stat that you should never pay attention to unless you're monetizing the show. Unless you have a sponsor, it should not be that important.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just go ahead and get your information out there and get the message out there. And I think more people have to at the end of the day. A lot of people I talk to have great messages, and most are afraid to either get on a mic or in front of a camera, whatever it might be. You said it, the world we live in now, it's all about, the audio and putting the ear pods in at the end of the day and listen to some goodness on the way to your work, whatever your jam is at the end of the day, 100%.
And how close do you feel to a podcast host when you're listening to it? Like at the end of the day, as much as people dismiss Joe Rogan, I think he's the best podcast host out there. He has an astounding command of the show. He knows where to take it. He doesn't use many filler words. He's very personable, and he asks the right questions. And anytime I'm thinking of a question when the guest is speaking, he generally asks it right after. He's like ahead of the game. And that's what most people are looking for. They're just looking for authenticity. It's one of the reasons why I don't edit any of the shows. I never have cut out anything from any of the shows, because even if you mess up, I've learned that a lot of audio consumers like that because it feels more authentic than what we had been groomed to watch over the last decades with these highly produced news shows and segments that are not at all what that person's really feeling.
Yeah, I think people are not looking for perfection at the end of the day. And anybody that does call it out as a joker, it's just you get that one weirdo, like whatever. They're just had a bad day and looking to mess with you. But yeah, as far as it just not meant to be perfect. You're up there, you're on mic, you're in front of the camera. Even when we're doing videos, you're like, you want to retake that? No, just get it out there, get it moving. Don't have time for this. There's no such thing as perfect.
What type of video content are you recording typically?
Most of the video content that we do now is more on training and educating realtors. So what I'll have a camera set up at the office, so I constantly have realtors sitting down at my desk asking me a tip or trick or listing a property or what do I say in this situation. So we constantly record that information. Videographer edits it out, puts it out there, and it's value content. That's all it is. It's not set up with a hook. There's no call to action with it at the end of the day. All we're simply doing is getting more information out there to help other realtors, and what they call that is agent attraction. And that's how we end up having more realtors bang on our door versus us go chase them down. Like, come please work with us. People are coming like, I love your stuff. I watched this video. I was able to do this with a client. I was able to watch this video. The one released earlier today was how to reach a 6-figure income as a brand new real estate agent, because it can be done. People are told constantly it's going to take you 2-3 years. You're going to have to work forever. Even some of the guys in our operation, they were told by family and friends, you're not going to make it in real estate. And he's one of our top realtors right now. It's like, I told you, you just tell yourself you're going to do it, follow the steps of the recipe, and you will make the money at the end of the day. So that's the information that we put out there. Is just strictly value, educational, not boring content. It's like, hey, when you have this going on, 1-2 minute videos, this is how you're going to overcome this objection. This is how you're going to get more deals. This is how you're going to get more listings. is how it goes.
I've always been under the impression that any sort of educational content or motivational should be free. It shouldn't really be behind some sort of paywall. Yeah. Because then to me it's inauthentic, or you come off as somebody who's trying to nickel and dime your audience. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee and his like jab, hook, methodology, where it's like keep giving free, and then you come with an ask down the road where it's like buy my book or come take this course or anything like that. You don't want to just jam everything down your audience's throat for paying $10 here, $5 there. You're going to annoy them. And eventually they're going to leave.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Like Katie brought up recently, she's like, you're one of the easiest closes in the world. I do appreciate a good salesperson. But the other thing where you're mentioning as far as too much on somebody, when it's a salesperson, they're diving down my throat and just ask. I get completely turned off. I'm like, I don't even want to listen to this anymore. I'm not taking this person's phone call because I know there's only one thing they're calling for. You know, we all have a job to do. We all want to do business. We all want to do more at the end of the day. Me personally, I want to do business with friends and family. I want to be able to call my client a friend. I want whoever I'm buying from them to be able to call me a friend. But if you're constantly like, hey, Johnny, come on over. I want you to buy this NFT. Today's the day. Come on over. Come on. You got to do it. It's like, come on now. You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
Yeah. So as one of the top, or somebody who's in the top 1% of realtors in Las Vegas, tell us your thoughts on the Las Vegas real estate market.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It definitely is. So it still blows my mind what was happening during COVID. I constantly think back to it because I can remember March of 2020 going home and being like, oh, what's going to happen? And probably spending a week at the house, and we were released to the office, so we're good to go. And then I saw traction, and then more traction and more traction. So over the last year, we've just been on fire. Inventory went down. Houses are going like crazy. Now, all of us asked ourselves, like, is this because of COVID? What happened? There's actually more to it than that. So if you take a look after 2008, so after 2008, the houses they were building, due to the recession, the builders started building half as many single-family homes across the United States. So what happened when COVID kicked in, this was a residual effect. It was just a coincidence. We saw it at the same timing, but we didn't have enough homes for families out there. So all of a sudden, that's why you see nationwide inventory had gone down. And that's because the builders pulled back and they said, well, we're not going to build as many. We got pinched in 2008. That'll never happen to us again. So now we're suffering from that at the moment. I constantly get the calls probably multiple times a day. They're like, the market's going to fall. It's impossible. You're kind of right. The market's in a position it should fall, but we're in an inventory position it won't fall. So in order for anything to go upside down, what has to happen? Inventory has to go up, and now you have too much inventory, and now that's where you see the seesaw turning. We're in a position where just being forced not to at the end of the day. So right here in the Vegas market, we're going to continue seeing this for quite some time. Now, there are some other things coming down the pipeline as far as forbearance goes, and that's a big question. Okay, is that going to change everything? So if we do see any kind of adjustment and correction, we might see a slight correction in Q2 of next year to where it may soften up a little bit. You might see a little bit off. And people are hoping for that 2008. That was a one-hit wonder. It's just not coming back again. You might see a little bit difference from right now, but nothing significant to where it's like the deal of the century.
And so the slight dip would be because of an introduction to new houses on the market from things like evictions.
Yeah. And it's not, the thing is we're so light on inventory right now, there's not going to be enough of an introduction. Even if we get an introduction, it's not going to be en masse, because at the same time, so many hedge funds are out here right now. They're buying properties left and right. Every time we put a listing up there on the market, the first call I get, I mean, it's like crazy. I'll have my assistant put it up on the MLS. I'm like, is it live? She's like, it's live. Phone rings. Hey, this is X. you got an offer. I'm like, let me know when it comes. They're like, you already got it. It's in your mailbox.
Wow.
And they are fast. They are really fast. They're coming in, sucking up whatever inventory we have right now. And they're paying big money too. You can't compete with these guys. We had a listing that went into contract this morning. The guy overpriced it $50,000. I'm like, this is never going to happen. Hedge fund actually spent more than what he was asking for.
Do you think these hedge funds that are coming in, like I believe it's BlackRock, is it BlackRock? One of them. There's multiple.
Money.
Do you think this is a positive or negative thing long term for the economy? And the reason why I ask this is there's been a bunch of articles about hedge funds coming in, buying all these houses, and basically going to turn America into a renter's economy, and it's going to eventually just disseminate the American dream from ever happening again.
Well, let's call it for what it is. They're going to be controlling everything, and they're buying and holding them. So you aren't far-fetched. I don't think it's going to be 100% a rentals market, but they're going to control a large part of this market out here eventually if it continues going this way. Yeah, without a doubt, because that's what they're going to have everything. As far as Vegas right now, Vegas is a strong rentals market. It's a great, if you're looking to buy an investment and rent out a property, you couldn't be in a better place. We do 500 rental contracts every single week, weekend.
Jesus.
It's been that way pre-COVID. It's been that way during COVID. It hasn't took its foot off the gas. Every single week I watch it.
Why do you think we're a renter's economy? Is it because of the transient nature of people just coming in and out, or is it just a lack of funds from the general population?
A lot of people that are moving into Vegas, it's always the same thing. First year to 2 years, they're constantly renting. And then for every one of them that's getting ready to leave, there's another 5 more that are coming in. So it's a constant turn and burn at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So if you're buying stuff to buy and hold, I mean, you have nothing to worry about. Something dramatically would have to change. So on the other hand, if you're looking to sell right now, and I mean, you could really cash out with some of these hedge funds, but the question is, where are you going to go? What's plan B? Are you staying in Vegas? Are you moving out of Vegas? Whatever it might be. Us as real estate agents, that's a tough competition because now there are competition at the end of the day. So if you're getting into real estate right now, there's 2 ways to do it. Either you're going to run a business or you're going to join a big operation. You're not going to do it on your own because how are you as a brand new agent? You're going to come in, you're going to compete with Zillow with millions among millions of dollars in marketing money, Open Door, Realtor.com, all these you name it, all these hedge funds walking in, that is your competition. Your realtors are not your competition as much anymore. They are, but now you're competing against these other companies. So what do you want to do? You want to partner up with somebody that is spending money, that is getting you out in front of the clients, that's getting you out in front of listings and so on and so forth. So real estate now is a different animal than when I started. 100%. It's a different animal than it was last year. Probably a different animal than it was 3 months ago.
So it sounds like some of the new realtors are getting essentially priced out because of these Goliaths that are coming in, and so they have to join a party, and it's becoming much tougher for an agent to quote unquote make it and create their own agency.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So years ago, you could just walk in and you could buy leads through Zillow or Realtor.com. You're like, all right, I have $2,000 a month towards marketing. I'm going to put that all towards Realtor.com, for example. Well, even trying to get into that right now is almost the impossible. All the other realtors have purchased those zip codes, number one. Number two, they're changing the platforms as we speak, that those platforms are not going to be around much longer. Now they've changed over to where, no, you're not going to pay us for leads. You can pay us once the deal closes. So I'm going to give you a lead. Once it closes, you go ahead and you give me 35%, which is pretty common. However, the only way I'm going to give you the lead is if you have a great score. How many reviews do you have? How many houses have you sold? Well, if I'm brand new, I'm walking in, I haven't sold nothing. Well, I'm not dealing with you. I don't care. It's not my problem. How are they going to get started? What's going to be your way in the door?
Yeah, it's like almost the chicken or the egg scenario.
Yeah.
And that's the same issue that we see with college graduates as well, where some of these jobs they want a certain degree specification, but also a certain amount of years of experience. And it's like, how are you going to do both when you're coming out of college? You have to find somebody, and you have to essentially, nowadays, you have to network your way into a position if you want to work anywhere.
100%.
It's strange.
Yeah.
Either that or build your own business. But it's been, now it's in this internet age, it's easier than ever to build your own brand. You just really have to stay consistent with it for multiple years. When I started the podcast, I was told you're going to eat shit for at least 18 to 36 months, but work on refining your skills and finding what suits you best, but also what speaks to you the most. And if you find something that, even if you're not making as much money, you find it a sense of fulfillment, then you know you're on the right path. It's just the money hasn't come yet.
Well, you moved pretty fast. 18 to 36 months. You moved really quick.
Yeah, that's why I did two episodes per week. I was like, I need to accelerate this process as fast as possible.
Yeah, good for you.
I hate sitting around doing nothing. But now, like the audience knows, I've had to scale. I'm scaling this back for 3 months because so much immense opportunities presented itself from just literally sitting and talking with people. It scaled much faster than I had anticipated. And I've noticed some of my other friends that are podcasters are beginning to experience the same thing that started around the same time as me. You just never know who you're going to meet in the city that's going to change your life. Yeah,
well, that's why you can't have tunnel vision. You know, everybody always says, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. I get it 100%. But there are times where a door opens with an opportunity, and do not shut that door. You got to investigate that door and say, hey, this might be worth my time. I have X going on, and just like you're figuring it out, scaling it back, you're not dropping it, you're not walking away. But this is something I have to put some attention to.
Yep.
So there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Is there anything outside of real estate that Johnny Richards been looking into? Richardson, apologies.
It's all right. You're fine. You're good to go. As far as looking into outside of real estate, I'm one of those guys. I'm all about work at the end of the day. So we have our coaching program, which has to do with real estate as well, which I absolutely love every part of it. That is one of the passions I have, is getting up. It's not as much doing real estate, but it's educating people at the end of the day. I probably drive my fiance crazy because I'll just like continue work at it. I remember last night, actually, I got home, it was 9 o'clock, and I got back on my 75 hard challenge. So it really wires me out because I'm not drinking at all. I'm focused. I'm in the gym twice a day. And I get home and I'm like, I got this plan. We're going to do this. And this is what I'm working on. She's like, honey, it's 9:15 or whatever it is. Just shut it down, please. So I'm just constantly working on everything. But besides that, as far as right now, something that we have our eye on, it is still work related, is Florida, Miami. And one of my mentors I spent some time with over the last week, he even said it to me. He's like, Johnny, you got to understand. He's like, I've been at this 26 years. He's like, you should pick a place that you're also building another network in that you like to go to. And that's what we did last week. We went out there and I said, okay, I could see this. Where I could go out there and we could build part of the Richardson group out in Miami, work out of Vegas, because that's where our core is out here. That's super important. And also at the same time, spend time in an amazing place. Because besides Vegas, because I love being in Vegas, my number 2 is Miami all day long.
Hey,
it's super awesome. Between the beaches out there, the food, the people, the cars, the lifestyle. I mean, Miami is an amazing place.
Between Vegas and Miami, there's many parallels to the city and how they're operated. They're just in different geographical areas.
Yeah, 100%.
I love the place.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I have one final question for you. Same question I ask everybody. What does Las Vegas mean to you?
Las Vegas to me is a community. And that community is all what you're going to make of it at the end of the day. Some people are going to come into this city and they're going to say it's crap. Well, you made it crap. Besides that, you have a community, like you're part of my community, as far as meeting amazing people and making a tremendous life and an awesome just entrepreneurship at the end of the day. That's what it is to me. It definitely is 100%. You will take yourself in Vegas to new levels just utilizing the community. It's not a place you have to come into with a college education. It's not a place you have to know every person. You come in, you're a good person, you're authentic, you dive into the community with the right people, you stick with them. This city will change your life.
That is a 100% fact. Where do I send all the listeners and those who are watching on YouTube to follow you along your journey, or any other links you'd like to mention?
So you can follow me right on my Instagram's the best place, Johnny Richardson Jr. Facebook's going to be Johnny Richardson. As far as real estate goes, that's going to be the Richardson Group.Vegas. And then company phone number 702-608-5723. Love to hear from you. Probably the easiest is always shoot me a text or social media. I'll get back to you no matter what it is. If you need a helping hand, borrow $10, whatever it might be, I'm here for you.
Johnny has great content, so make sure you guys give him a follow. He is also actually very easy to reach on Instagram. That's how we began to communicate after we met in person. So Johnny, thank you for coming on and doing this. You are a leader in the real estate industry out here who is beginning to scale upwards and outwards beyond the city. And that is just a beautiful thing to see. So thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.